Are you ready to do stat of the day, Mike Schur?
Sure.
Let's do it.
Start of the day, start of the day. It is your start of the day. Start of the day, start of the day. It is your start of the day. Start of the day, start of the day. It is your start of the day. Start of the day, start of the day. It is the start of the day.
Thanks for turning on original sounds so I could hear the music. Folks, the Golden State Warriors were favored by 4 last night in Oklahoma City. If anyone had asked me, I would have told you to take the Thunder because the Warriors on the road are utterly hopeless. They are 7-25 on the road, despite still somehow being the number 5 seed in the West. They still have games. They have 2 games at Memphis. They're at the Clippers. They're at Dallas. They're at Denver. They're at Sacramento. There is a decent chance that they could have the worst road record for any playoff team since the 85-86 Michael Jordan-led Bulls, who were 8-33 on the road and still made the playoffs before getting swept in the first round.
It's really
always
weird.
Bet against the Warriors on the road.
I mean, what is happening there? Is that just championship fatigue? They know that these games don't matter much. Like, what is happening there that the Warriors are so bad on the road?
You've gone too far. No, it's not championship fatigue. They suck. They're not good on the road because they play a bunch of young guys who were unproven. They got rid of all their vets. Now they try to get some new vets and try to piece something together. They've also had a bunch of injuries that have contributed to all that, but they're not. I mean, like, it's hard to say, but I don't think they're a good, a great team. They're not a great team. They're a good team. They're not a great team. I know they'll point to all the injuries and they haven't had their guys together, but 7-25. I mean, that's ridiculously bad.
What I'm asking you isn't about whether they're a great team or a good team. I'm asking you why they have like a road record that the Rockets would throw out there.
They have the worst road record in the NBA. I think there might be like 3 other teams that are a little worse than them.
It's the same record as the Pistons. They have the same record as the worst team in the NBA on the road, basically.
So the big thing, Dan, isn't, why or are they good or are they not good, is a lot of people say, well, just get them to the playoffs and they'll take it from there. But if you literally can't win a road game, you have no shot of playoff success. Regardless of they could be the 1 seed. If you can't win road games, you have no shot of playoff success.
Mike Schur is hurt. I'm going to go ahead and say that. I may be breaking a confidence here because him and Adam McKay are trying to get into our sloppily thrown together tournament. Billy, is the committee closed on March Sadness? Because you've thrown this together in a couple of days. You guys seem really tired. You're getting a lot of bad nominations, and you're trying to find 68 good ones. And Mike Schur tried to get into the tournament with Mac McClung, looks like the unnamed Hobbit extra, who excitedly yells, "Frodo's back" at the end of the final Lord of the Rings movie. And it was rejected. It did not make the tournament, and he's got his feelings hurt about that. Do you want to explain yourself as a member of the committee?
Well, I mean, I didn't think I'd be on trial today for this. I wouldn't say to take it personally, Mike, and I wouldn't say that we've been getting a lot of bad submissions. I'd say that our fans are very helpful, and they help to varying degrees, and they all send in submissions, and, some are better. They're all good, some better than others. There's only 68 spots, And we had a committee meeting, and we kind of tossed it in there. And yes, I mean,
if I may, Mike, what he's trying to tell you is next time win your conference tournament, and then you won't have to worry about this,
or just be funnier,
or less wordy.
I wouldn't have said any of those things. Just we tossed it in the batch, and we went through the 68 and the 68. Look, I don't remember off the top of my head what all of the 68 are, so maybe it's in there. I don't know.
No, it's not in there. It did not make the Whittingham. It didn't make the tournament, correct? It
did not.
Well, he doesn't look like a hobbit. He looks like Elrond, the elf, in the Lord of the Rings Amazon series, Rings of Power.
Also, when you read it, I felt nothing.
That's part of the problem. Because I will say this, Mike Schur also benefited from a privilege in that it was rejected from the tournament, and Whittingham offered him the excuse of, well, our Hobbit expert wasn't in yesterday. Jessica, maybe she can get you in the tournament, but she read it, and she also felt nothing.
I don't think he looks like a hobbit, Mike Schur. I really don't. Try
Well,
harder.
Don't let this dissuade you from future
It's supposed
attempts.
to be funny. Like, it just wasn't funny.
What you actually said when it was appealed to the Hobbit expert was that he's not short enough or fat enough, and I said the hobbits in the movie aren't particularly fat, and you said I go by book canon, not movie canon, and then I said that's insane. We're doing looks like, not
Bannon.
I go by
fictionally
Nick
reminded us by.
This is the America you want. This is pure socialism.
It felt like I was being held to an impossible to reach standard, frankly.
I'm surprised you didn't say Bannon.
I am. Although Nick Cannon also an excellent choice. I thought Nick Cannon's got another television show, right?
Oh, it's a great idea. What is this one? It's a competition to find out who gets to have his next child.
It is
Get
real.
outta
No,
here.
it's real.
That's not real.
It's-
That can't be real.
It must be real.
Dan, no.
It must
Dan,
be real.
Come on.
The internet again.
Mike Schur, they are telling me around here that Cocaine Bear was a disappointment, but that they're excited about John Wick. That the next John Wick movie
The next John Wick movie is getting stellar reviews. I mean, Collider has an aggregation of all the reviews from critics that got to see screeners, and they said just jaw-droppingly the most amazing action movie ever made. That
Really?
that they know what they're getting when they're going into this movie, and still it surpasses all the expectations. Yes, it's video game logic. Yes, you're going into something that may be perceived as dumb, and it still finds a way to blow you away. Cocaine Bear, on the other hand, you would think by the name and how it was marketed, would kind of lean into some of the things, the campy aspects that maybe John Wick leans into, and really knows its identity. I thought my whole takeaway from Cocaine Bear, and some people enjoyed it more than I did, was that it wasn't campy enough, that they didn't really lean all the way in. There were some times that they kind of played it straight, which I was very confused by. So I don't know. It's certainly the best movie about a bear that does cocaine I've ever seen, but it's not a good movie.
I have to point out now that as you listen to Mike's review, please keep in mind that for half the movie, he believed that Isaiah Whitlock Jr. was O'Shea Jackson Jr.'s character in the future.
It's very weird tempo to start. And I was,
I cannot review Cocaine Bear. I have not seen Cocaine Bear, so apologies. But I would say about John Wick that, to me, John Wick is one of those franchises like the original Bourne series or Mission Impossible, where when I see them, I'm like, yeah, release one of these every 2 years for the rest of time. I'll be totally happy. Like they're all, even when they, like, I think the last one wasn't amazing, but I was still happy that I saw it, because you give yourself over to the most prurient violence and insanity that you can possibly imagine, and if you do that, then you're along for this crazy ride, and it's totally enjoyable. So I'm sure I'll go see John Wick 4. I'll see it. I haven't seen a movie in theaters since Swing Vote, I think, was the last movie I saw.
Hey, yeah.
you want?
But I'll definitely see it. I'll see all of them forever. They're amazing.
Do you go to Hollywood premieres? This is going to be so Look at Me Louie, but I got invited to the John Wick Chapter 4 premiere. It is a Look at Me Louie, and I'm proud to say that. I can get you in. You want to be the +1?
I can get you in.
I was not invited to the premiere. So
I know a guy.
No.
I know a guy. I can get you in. Let's go. I thought you were going
Enough.
to dismiss
Is
it.
where
Enough.
at the premiere in L.A.?
Enough. The John
Chinese
Wick
theater.
premiere. Okay, very good. Let's
Boring
not
movie.
let's make those.
He's already texting me. I'm in.
All right, let's make those decisions off air. Thank you.
According to Variety, if Nick Cannon's new game show, Who's Having My Baby, sounds more like a sketch than an actual TV show, that's because you're right. No, there won't be a TV show called Who's Having My Baby because, well, what would that show even look like anyways? Instead, it's an idea for a gag show that Kevin Hart is producing for Peacock.
That's too bad. One of the great blessings in Stugotz's life of no one holding him accountable for previous things said.
Yep.
Is I do believe, What was that sound? Like what? You were just sort of.
I was leaning back, and then I leaned in, and that's what happens when you go from leaning back to leaning in.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, you have
Everyone knows.
On this Lamar Jackson story, you have taken every possible position, and now your position is that he's an idiot at business. Correct?
Not an idiot, just someone who clearly needs some help navigating through a very important part of his life. That's it.
Okay, but you said clearly needed help when you also said it was brilliant for him not to have an agent. Back when the first 5 games of the season, he was out playing the contract. You realize Patrick Mahomes
was playing great.
Patrick Mahomes is already underpaid. Wait out this market.
Mm-hmm.
Daniel Jones making $40 million a year isn't even going to be something special very soon. So he is betting on himself. He is playing a dangerous game.
A very dangerous
But he's
game.
an MVP, and everyone needs that position.
Dan, he was an MVP like, I don't know, 4 seasons ago. He's been hurt the last 2 years. He turned down between 160 and 180. $160 to $180 million guaranteed before the season. According to who? According to Lamar Jackson. That's a lot of money, guaranteed money to turn down when you play that style of football.
It is a lot of money to turn down, and it's $50 million less than what Deshaun Watson got. And Deshaun Watson, who's not the MVP of the league.
But Lamar Jackson should not feel this burden or some sort of need to get slightly more than Deshaun Watson. That was a dumb deal.
Why not? Why not?
Why should he? Why is that his obligation?
That was precedent setting.
I know, but the Browns did it against every other owner's will. Like, none of the teams were happy that the Cleveland Browns did it.
It's not Lamar Jackson's job to care about that.
It's not Lamar Jackson's job to get more than Deshaun Watson.
But why wouldn't he think he deserves
I
it?
feel like that would be his agent's job if he had an agent, and he doesn't. So
and
it's
he doesn't
his job.
have an agent.
It is his job.
So Stugotz, I'm with you in that. Dan is very anti-agent, but what agents do, it's not even about the money. It's when the Ravens say, we're not giving you that, the agent is working a million back channels to figure out what the alternative landing spots are back last year. Not now, but this should have been happening back August, September of last year. That's where the agent comes in. But the part, Stugotz, where you're like, oh, what does it matter? It's not his obligation to make more than Deshaun Watson. It's absolutely his obligation because that is what the market says. Hey, a top-tier quarterback is worth this much.
That's what the Browns said.
No, that's what the market.
That's what the Browns said.
The market is the market, right? The Browns did that because they were bidding against other teams for this dude, and that's where they set the bar at. So if you're Lamar Jackson, at that point, the market is spoken. It doesn't matter who. There's an old saying in the NBA, I'm sure it applies in the NFL. It only takes one asshole. But once that asshole is spoken, guess what? Now we all move. I'll tell you a great story about this. Channing Frye was a free agent for us. He had just opted out. We started with 4 years, $16 million for him, $4 million a year. It was a good thing. It was double what he was making before. He liked it there. He's from Phoenix. He had the best year of his career. And his agent was saying, we think we can get, $30 million. And we're like, no, he's not getting $30 million. And so we kept going, and then we eventually got up to like $20 million with our option on the last year.
Right.
And his agent, who was Rob Pelinka, by the way, says to us, Channing and his wife want to sleep on it. And so we said, okay, all right, we'll give him the night. The next morning, Darko Milicic signed a full mid-level, and Drew Gooden, like all these dudes who weren't as good as Channing, signed the deal that Channing was looking for, and at that moment, it was a done deal. It doesn't matter that they were bad deals, and every single one of those contracts was regretted by those teams. All that mattered to Channing Frye was worse players are signing better deals than me. Lamar Jackson sitting there right now, he's saying a worse player who's got a massive radioactive red flag has a better deal than me.
A worse person. You take the off-the-field stuff out of the equation, most people would have said, hey, I'd take Deshaun Watson over Lamar Jackson.
How many MVPs does Deshaun Watson have? How many MVPs does he have? Let's play the Stugotz game.
I'm not sure about that. Stugotz.
I disagree.
You are
Stugotz,
not looking at
MVP
Lamar.
plus minus. How many MVPs does he have?
He has one. You're not looking.
Who, no, Deshaun Watson?
No, Lamar Jackson
I'm
has
asking
one.
how
Deshaun
much
has none.
Okay,
He has
there
none.
you go.
That doesn't mean he's the better quarterback,
Yes, it
Lamar.
does.
He was a better quarterback for a year. for 1 year.
And Deshaun Watson was never the better quarterback then.
Deshaun Watson, I think most people would have told you a couple of years ago, hey, I take Deshaun Watson. Coming off that playoff game, that good season they had, I take Deshaun Watson over Lamar Jackson. You're not looking at Lamar Jackson's last 2 years.
Just to be
clear.
clear.
He missed 10 games, and he was awful last year.
How many games does Deshaun Watson miss?
He's had ACL concerns
He
too.
missed a full season with an ACL
Stugotz,
injury.
are you making the argument? I just want to be clear on what your argument is today.
And he had an agent.
Yeah, well, let me just make sure that this is the argument. So, if he had an agent, he should sign. If he had you as his agent, he should sign for $50 million less guaranteed than the Deshaun Watson got.
And 2080 Stugotz.
He should have taken
$160 to $180 million guaranteed for anyone is a lot of money. That's a deal I probably would have taken.
But it's $50 million less than Deshaun Watson, who not only I would argue is not as good, I would also argue, and this is irrefutable, comes with a whole lot more shit than Lamar Jackson.
Of course he does.
And so you're asking Lamar Jackson, what you're asking the agent to do is come in $50 million under value. And the thing that I don't understand that people always do is, why do you assume that this is still Lamar Jackson walking into the front office in his uniform as opposed to having a management team that's not an agent that's taking 4%? Like, why do you assume that Lamar Jackson is negotiating with Carolina's front office about how to get to Carolina?
With his helmet under his arm.
Like, I don't get this. He's an economy. You think that a person who's worth hundreds of millions of dollars is walking around and he's got no help? All he's got is the last say. And Lamar Jackson wants his money,
And it drives the media people crazy who get all of their information from the top agents and brokers in sports because they can't hear that perspective on it and then put that out into the world. Like, that's the information economy that a lot of people on radio and on TV run off of. And it drives them crazy that they don't know what's going on.
But let me add to this, Stugotz, because you've got your star player who, at this moment as we speak, he's the Ravens. You can tell me anybody else you want to name. This is the Ravens, face of your franchise, your future. The Ravens are screwing with something. An MVP in close to his prime at that position is not something that you fool around with that person's feelings. Generally speaking,
right.
we caretake that person. We cater to that person. We make sure that person's feelings aren't hurt if they are that responsible for everything that we're doing.
Between 160 and 180, guaranteed, is not making a person feel important.
He doesn't. It can be perceived as below market value.
Because one team went rogue and acted like idiots.
But and honestly, to Stugotz's point, I think the Ravens and their owner, Steve Bisciotti, might be being sent out there as, hey, you need to lead the charge on bringing this
Correct.
back.
And this is the part that I now want to talk about, Stugotz, because it was unusual yesterday. Go ahead and cite me all the precedent we have on what I'm about to say. A whole bunch of teams who need quarterbacks immediately run into the fray, giving their information, guys, not interested in an MVP at quarterback. Not interested.
26 years old.
Not interested. 4 or 5 teams, not interested immediately. Darlington, everybody, not interested. Don't want the MVP of the league. A league that improperly evaluated him, didn't know he was a quarterback, didn't believe in him as a quarterback, and now that it's time to pay him, says, no, we're not paying him. And I find all of that riveting for a number of different reasons, not the least of which is Lamar Jackson's not going to be bossed around by an agent. He wants his guaranteed money. And now what the Ravens have said, and this part's cold. We don't know if you're worth that much, but let's see if you're worth that much to another team, plus a couple of first-round picks. Now you don't have to just be worth that much.
Well, they can match it or take the first round.
But now what you're doing with the offer is
Yeah, you're saying let the rest of the NFL go set the market. We don't believe the contract you're asking from us is out there from anyone. And so far, they're right.
But what you're saying to your prized employee is, not only are you not worth as much as Deshaun Watson, go ahead, we're going to call your bluff. Go out and find the team that says you are worth that much and is going to give us the 2 first-round picks so that we decide, not that we value you, because they might still keep him after that, Stugotz.
Well, they can match it.
No, but what I'm saying, not that we value you, we insist on someone else telling us how much we should value you. If you're Lamar Jackson's skill set, that's insulting.
It is insulting. It's also business. Like, the Ravens aren't sure what to do. And I'm not sure I blame the Ravens for not being sure what to do with a quarterback who plays that kind of style in a conference that is littered with great quarterbacks. They might be saying to themselves, hey, Good quarterback draft. Let's reset the quarterback clock, get a rookie in here, and see if we can win that way. When you're in a conference, Dan, with Josh Allen, with potentially Aaron Rodgers, with Tom Brady, with other guys like Joe Burrow, with guys like Justin Herbert,
Patrick Mahomes.
Patrick Mahomes. You're in that conference. They might be thinking to themselves, you know what? Lamar is good. Lamar is great. He's not enough to get through that gauntlet. So we're going to let him go.
Lamar has already expressed profound disrespect in a lengthy Instagram post. I wonder if his relationship with the Ravens is repairable at this point. I really doubt that it is. I think he's looking to get out. I think he's more liable to take less from another team than he is from the Ravens at this point.
It's a weird way to treat a quarterback MVP for your team, Stugotz. It doesn't have a whole lot of historical precedent for a guy of this value to be enduring this in public from his franchise.
Dan, he was the MVP in 2019. Like, I'm not saying he's not a great quarterback. He's a great quarterback. But he was offered 160 to 180 million guaranteed before the season. Like, had he taken that, he still would have gotten injured this year, still would have missed his 6 or 7 games, still would have played awfully after week 3. Like, the Ravens kind of look good right now in their decision-making.
Daniel Jones just got that 160.
I know.
You think Daniel Jones and Lamar Jackson are
No, I think Lamar's. I was surprised to see Daniel Jones
is more
get
important
that.
there.
Right.
The guarantee
he
number.
got 80-something guaranteed.
Yeah, Daniel Jones. But
they
but
were
even
offering him double that
but
guaranteed.
Stu, you made the point that maybe the Ravens have decided that Lamar Jackson isn't good enough. I mean, you're looking for a unicorn then. I mean, I would make that argument about Daniel Jones. The Giants are going nowhere with Daniel Jones.
But how do you guys not see what they did from a team standpoint? They decided that they're not certain he's worth that amount of money.
I'm amazed at how principled it is.
So go show us you're worth that amount of money.
But you
think you can get it? Go get it.
You do that to Daniel Jones. Not even the Giants were willing to do that. The Giants weren't willing to go to Daniel Jones. Go and find me your $160 million offer from somewhere else. The Ravens are doing that with Lamar Jackson. For as long as I've been watching football, I mean, yeah, they won a Super Bowl with Joe Flacco, but Joe Flacco was never like the elite MVP of the league kind of player. For as long as I've been watching football, the Ravens have been an offense mired in the muck. And yet they find Lamar Jackson, a league MVP, one of the most electrifying players. You would bend over, to Dan's point, you would bend over backwards
in
for this guy.
2020 you would have.
Stugotz,
He's 26.
Guys, 2 years ago, he threw 16 touchdowns, 13 interceptions.
Ran for 1,000 yards.
He had 3 good games to start last season. Look at the numbers. Look at the game logs after those 3 games.
This is where your argument falls apart. Give me the game logs over that time for Deshaun Watson, who got that money. You'll have a whole lot of games not played for anybody and calamity all around him, and he got the guaranteed money.
You're missing the point, okay? The Browns, okay? They went rogue. They did something that no one else would have done, I don't think. Offer that amount of guaranteed money.
You say that, but Deshaun had a lot of competitors. That's how that got that high, is because a lot of people wanted Deshaun
Miami.
Watson.
You guys keep pointing to the MVP season. Yes, he was an MVP. The year after, he threw 16 touchdowns, 13 interceptions, got injured, missed 5 games. The Ravens still offered him $170 million.
What was Deshaun Watson? What was Deshaun Watson during that year? What was
sitting that
What
year.
was he doing?
He was recovering from a torn ACL.
I don't know if this is Stugotz being Stugotz or if he's really holding on, but to me, the money, the guarantee, the options, all that stuff is set dressing for the actual point. Sounds like Stugotz is saying he's good, but he's not that good. That's what it sounds like you're saying.
It is what I'm saying.
Deshaun actually threw 33 touchdowns and 7 interceptions that
year. Yes.
Well, that was in 20. In 21, he didn't play.
You're
it's
asking
funny
me
what you guys are doing.
Lamar's
You're holding up the years that
MVP.
you want to hold up to bolster your argument, and I'm doing the same thing with Lamar.
Well, we also just saw-
in 2020, he was the best quarterback in the NFL, coming off the MVP.
We also just watched him
What
play
has he done since?
They win 2/3 of their games when he starts. They make the playoffs every time that he starts. You value winning. His career record as a quarterback is 45-16.
How many playoff games?
Through 13 games last year, they were like 9 points from being undefeated.
Dan,
that
he
team.
was bad, though.
It's the
I'm
most
telling you, he was
anti-Stugotz.
not good.
It's the most anti-Stugotz argument ever. Like, every single thing that you hold dear, winning, MVPs, like, you're like, no, none of that matters.
I'm looking at stats.
The other dude, yeah.
There's guys in the AFC who are just better, and a lot of them. Like, there's a lot of quarterbacks I'd rather have in the AFC. I mean, if I'm Lamar, I go to the NFC. I'd be the best quarterback in the NFC right now.
Put Lamar Jackson's MVP trophies in the box. Put Deshaun Watson's MVP trophies in the box. -1. Back to you, Stu.
Thank you, Juju. Before
Well
we
done, Juju.
finish out this hour, I did want to get to something that Jessica wanted to talk about. She's got a top 5 list. It is sponsored, so I will allow everyone to get into position here so that we could properly do the top 5 things that men can do for Jessica on International Women's Day.
For all women. Yeah. It's a happy International Women's Day.
I mean, you probably should know that.
Everyone in the room, I guess.
Why are we working today?
Ooh,
It's a good question.
point.
Yeah.
If it was Men's Day, we wouldn't be working.
Is making it a holiday an OLI?
Number 5, shut the fuck up. Number 4, leave me alone. Number 3, seriously, you guys, just go away. Number 2, all right, if you're not gonna do any of the things I just asked you to do, can you at least like Venmo me $5 or something? I'll get a coffee.
Oh, if you want to give people your Venmo, that
Number
will
1,
fill
just
up
stop
with cash.
talking, Dan. Please.
He didn't hear number 5.
Amin believes that the Western Conference playoffs have started. Do we give the sponsorship for
Seriously?
that?
Come on. Couldn't listen to any of those.
We got to give the sponsor. We got to give the sponsorship.
She's leaving.
Jess walked out and took the sponsor with her.
It's a sponsored segment. Now what do we do?
There's
No
sponsor.
longer a sponsored segment.
All right, excellent. I don't know, Cody, if this is offensive to you or not. You are closing in on 50 years at the Miami Herald. We have pointed out a great deal today that you are descending into getting clicks however you can get them to get people over the paywall by writing things that are more inflammatory than they have been over the last 45, 46 years. But I don't believe that that's the reason that Billy has made a shocking official proclamation that journalism is dead.
It's dead. Yeah. Sorry, Greg.
I know Ron DeSantis is trying to kill it. I didn't know it had been officially.
Well, you and Ron together.
It was in hospice. It's been in hospice, but you and Ron DeSantis are killing journalism or have killed journalism, correct?
Joined at the hip.
Well,
yeah.
I mean, okay, so the last day, obviously there's this Aaron Rodgers news, right? In the last day, I have seen that Aaron Rodgers is in New York meeting with the Jets. The Jets are flying to Green Bay to meet with Aaron Rodgers, and they're flying to California to meet with Aaron Rodgers. It seems impossible that all 3 of those things are happening, but we're running with all of those things.
Who are the people reporting those things?
I don't know, journalism.
Are they really journalists, though?
I feel like I saw like blurbs, like little, like, on this. I don't want to,
Trey Wingo had them going to New York. Someone else had them going to L.A. Someone had them going to Green Bay. Billy is right. But it
Where
was Trey
are
Wingo
they?
with them going to New York.
Would it be that surprising to you if I said that he was meeting with them in New York in the dark, in Green Bay in the light, and in California over...
There is no light in Green Bay.
All right, so he was meeting Green Bay in the dark and New York in the light, and in Los Angeles he was meeting them in a spider hole.
At what point do the Jets play hardball with Aaron, right? Because like this very much seems like a one-horse race for Aaron Rodgers at this point. Like it's either the Jets or it's not the Jets. Like no one else.
Or the
seems-
Packers.
They can start playing hardball in week 16.
But he doesn't want to stay with the Packers from what we hear, which we don't know anything because if you don't know his inner circle who don't say anything, like you don't know. But like no other team's really been pushing as hard as the Jets, right? So at what point do they play hardball with Aaron? Like, hey, like decide already. We're not going to be doing this all offseason.
Well, can the Jets play hardball because they could do it all offseason, just sitting there waiting for Aaron Rodgers to decide whether he wishes to play for them or not.
But
because
they
that's-
can't. Like, they've already missed out on Derek Carr.
Yeah, you run the risk of missing out on Jimmy Garoppolo and other quarterbacks that could help your team.
Okay, so what do you think's going to happen here, though, when you guys say run the risk? I don't believe they're going or flying anywhere to convince him of anything. I believe they're going to fly to meet so that he decides whether it will be Green Bay retirement or the Jets, correct? And
I think they're trying to work out the financials. I think the reason they're meeting is because Green Bay is okay with the Jets talking to Aaron Rodgers, their quarterback who's under contract, because they've worked out some sort of deal.
There's no way that they're meeting with him one-on-one if that's not the case. I wouldn't think, right? I don't think you can. You can't
no,
meet with
of
him.
course,
They get
no.
permission.
This is largely in place, but Aaron Rodgers has the power for the contingent to have to meet him wherever, and I would be surprised at this point, as I imagine the audience would be and everybody would be, if Aaron Rodgers just retired and didn't play for the Jets.
It'd be odd, but it's Aaron Rodgers. I mean, you just don't know. You don't know what he's thinking. I would find it odd as well, but
Well, I mean,
I
help
don't
us.
know. Do you think that it's that unpredictable? Because it always ends the same way. Like, it seems like it's like
It ends with him going back to Green Bay.
Yeah, and this time it seems like it's not going to be that, but like you don't know and you can't really wait. Like, he's probably not going to retire. He's not going to make everybody jump through all these hoops just to retire, I wouldn't think.
this time, if he goes back to Green Bay, it's just south of $60 million guaranteed for a season. A season. So that concerns me.
I mean, once you get to the contingent flying anywhere to meet the quarterback, though, there are structurally a whole bunch of things that are already in place before you get to that, correct?
Yeah, so first and foremost, you got to have the permission, as has been noted, right? Like, you can't just say, hey, we're going to go meet with them. The Packers have to give that blessing, which, of course, they have. Second of all, we're in an era now where it's impossible to have this meeting in secret, right? So we're saying there's zero possibility that he's met with other contingents in this window of time. It's just the Jets?
I don't think that you can say that. That's all that's being reported, but I don't know how close. Aaron Rodgers went on McAfee and said when it comes to the NFL's insiders, they're good at their jobs, but they don't know shit about me. They don't have any contacts about me in these scenarios. So one would assume that
But
the
we
Jets,
knew this.
Well, the Jets information is leaking from the Jets.
But we're not
assume.
going to wake up and he's going to be on the Panthers tomorrow, you know?
I just don't know what information. When you say journalism is dead at the beginning
Yeah, it's
of
dead.
what we're talking about, I don't know what information is correct on Aaron Rodgers.
Why is that?
Because he can keep, I think,
Journalism's dead.
some things private.
Got you there, Dan.
Why
guys-
am I implicated in killing it? That's what I'm still wondering.
Well, there was the column that you wrote.
There's also a wonderful journalist named Kate Fagan, and her book, Hoop Muses, Happy Women's National Day, whatever how you say it,
Well
curated
said.
by
That is
Simone
not
Augustus.
good. That's not good.
Well,
That's not
look,
the way to celebrate.
Celebrate my sister
international-
by going and grabbing her book. I'm
Attaboy.
trying, Dan. Are you?
Yep.
Let's get some.
Wow.
Let's get some people.
Yes.
Answer.
Let's get some
Answer the
people to
question.
follow this.
That's how you do
Juju,
it.
you're-
I'm
I
trying
love you,
or
Kate
you.
Fagan.
I was not trying right then to promote Kate Fagan's book. No, that is
Why
not
not?
something that I
Dan
was
celebrates differently.
because I was
What's
told
the
to
book
shut the
called?
fuck up by a woman.
And you didn't listen.